knocking on heaven's doors, buddy.
Back at it with another swap. This time it's on my 05 SER. It's already been HR swapped probably like 5-6 years ago. But engine blew, hole in the block, bottom block. So I'm gonna put another SER, or no, another HR engine in here. Probably from a Murano this time. This one's from a Maxima. But here it goes. A tip to get the driver's side axle out on the manual one. Don't try to hammer it out, you'll damage the axle. Don't try to use a flathead screwdriver. They have an axle remover kit on Amazon for like 40 bucks, but if you don't want to wait, just use a nice angled crowbar like this. Put it against the axle on the back end. Give it a little press down with your foot and it'll pop right out in 2 seconds. Another trick to save you some time for the gearbox lines, these ones that control what gear you're in. Instead of taking all these clips that are really hard to get an angle for a flathead screwdriver to knock them out. When I do knock them out, I do it from the bottom down there. Put it straight up, have someone spotting you to make sure you're on the head there, and then knock it from the bottom. But if you don't want to go through all that jazz, just 2 bolts here. One goes right, get a good angle, one goes right here. And one is right there. You can see it sticking out a bit. I already loosened it. And then that will let you take off this bracket here. And all you do is just take out the cotter pins from the bushings, 2 of them, then they'll pop out. And then you just push it to the side when you're pulling out the engine instead of taking off all these components and all the clips and stuff like that. That just saves you a little bit of time. After you take all those 2 bolts, then you can just move this whole assembly to the back end, maybe zip tie it, or just, you know, have someone that's pushing it back as you're pulling out the engine. That way everything is out the way here. Everything's disconnected on this side. All that's left is basically the trans mount here, front and back engine mount, and this engine mount here, and basically, yeah, engine's ready to pull once you have everything disconnected, like, you know, harness, power steering line. Both axles here came out like a breeze, especially with the crowbar for the driver's side. Passenger side one was really easy because I changed that one before, and I made sure I put on anti-seize on the back end here and on the bolts, because I had problems with that before where I had to like literally break this whole bracket off to get the axle out. And then I got another bracket or another axle anyway, so it came with that side of the bracket. Another way you could do that axle as well is take off the whole bracket from here. There's a couple bolts up here, you can see them, 1, 2, and then I think there's 2 more or 1 more on the top. And then if you have enough room, like if you take off the knuckle and the hub and all that, you could wiggle it out. If it takes a little bit of time and finesse, but it's possible. I've done it before by doing it that way, just wiggling it out with the bracket on. Just got to make enough room and just be patient with it and just try to squirm itself out. All right, we got the 2nd gen front wheel drive HR motor here. So they say HR, but it's just nicknamed HR. This one is from 2010 Murano. And little differences I see, like this part right here. I never seen that on my Maxima, my 2010 Maxima HR engine. But yeah, time to start getting this one prepped for the HR swap on the SER. This HR is done and blown, done its duty. 6 years since I've done this swap on a driveway, so that's pretty good. Got this engine for 400 bucks at the time. Lasted me 6 years of ripping the shit out of it, banging gears, spanking mans on the highway. So, and customer got this one for 400 bucks. So hopefully it does the same for him. Here's a HR engine that we're gonna use for the swap. This one comes out of 2010 Murano. Pretty low km, pretty cheap engine. Got it on a good deal. So now we're just taking all the accessories off, everything we don't need, all the wiring, the old wiring harness and all that. get it prepped up for the swap. Old engine mount that we don't use. So for this HR swap, I took out the thing that changes your gears, that goes to your cables, your clutch cables, so I could just shove the trans into the wheel well like how I did for the clutch replacement. That way I don't have to hoist up as much weight. And then yeah, just the engine mounts, and this engine's ready to go. Got the new HR engine all mounted up on the engine stand. Just make sure when you're putting it on the engine stand, make sure you go above the upper oil pan for your bolts into the engine to hold it up. That way you could take the upper oil pan off while it's on the engine stand. All right, about to pull this old HR out, this Altima. Got the transmission off. I did my little trick where I just slide it into a wheel well. Just make sure to take off the shifter thingy there. That way it slides right in, take off the mount. Now it's just the back mount and the side mount. All right, 10 minutes later, got the engine out. All pulled out, transmission to the side, time for cleanup, and start transferring over all the accessories from this HR to that HR and start prepping this one.